Welcome back to our third day of playoffs here at the NAL. With every single one of our teams locked in and ready for Munich, we still have to play for placements. So M80 is facing up against Wildcard in this lower bracket. Not really a chance for survival because both of them are already locked in for the international, but SI points, respect.
That's the biggest one.
And
SI
placement.
points.
Oh yeah.
Seeding's really important too. We forget to acknowledge that when you go to a major event, obviously, seeding is a big important factor. Would you rather go up against, the #1 seed out of SAL or EML? Or would you rather potentially play the 4th seed coming out of one of those?
So you're saying that like NA can't take on SAL or EML?
Can the 4th seed beat Furia? I don't know.
No.
That's a pretty tough one to task to do. So would you rather play a Furia or a FaZe? Or would you rather play,
I mean, you got to beat them all if you want to win. That's
Essentially,
that's
yeah.
the NA mentality right there. Either way, let's head into our game. M80 Wildcard.
Yeah, it'll be a great game. M80 has definitely been playing a lot better. It's still, like Hot and Cold said, little too sloppy for comfort, but at the end of the day, a win is a win. It got them to Munich. Now they need to be able to improve. Wildcard, we'll have to see what they can do with that momentum.
Yeah, let's bring up this Wildcard roster specifically because we were kind of hammering down on Dash a little earlier today, Lax. We're saying, okay, he's got to lock in. He's got to do what he's got to do, and he delivered.
He definitely delivered, and I'm glad that he delivered. The whole team stepped up in the department where I said I needed them to, and it was, honestly, just being able to work together, being more cohesive, and what we saw even in this last round right here, for the fact that Kansan was able to just throw those impact nades, be able to grab that. We're going to go all the way back to the beginning and restart this. No, I'm kidding. It was a really good game from Wildcard to say. I mean, I didn't have a lot of hope going into that matchup, but like I said, they fixed everything that I had questioned going into this matchup, and I said it. When their backs are against the wall, that's when we tend to see Wildcard look to be their absolute best. Yeah,
so the question then remains, because at this point, your back is not really against the wall because you've already qualified for the major. Is it a flash in a pan when they just like show up for one series, or can they replicate that success coming into this one?
I think they absolutely can replicate it. And remember, the biggest thing that I took away from that matchup was their entry engagements. The fact that they had 16 entry engagements going in their favor and then was able to convert 13 of them into rounds 1, that was the biggest thing that stuck out the most to me. And then the second of that was actually Dash, as you were saying in the beginning of this, having a better performance, not using that Monty, taking advantage of the blitz, being that spearhead and creating space and taking gunfights. And then even in the last bit, we saw a little bit of Blackbeard coming out of him. And he has to be back in his natural nature and his habitat of what Brazil is, of just constant aggression.
I really like seeing how Wildcard played on defense too, specifically the way that they would coordinate off of each other. Yeah, in the end right here, really good play from Kansan to use the impacts instead of just Gunnar was already hot off of the first 2 picks, so not giving them that gunfight. But I really love their defenses because they were very meticulous on the roam, constantly being shifty. Specifically on Clubhouse, Dash was one of those players always flanking up blue. In that one of the rounds on Labs, we saw Kansan was going for a Raptors flank. It didn't work out, but those flanks had more success than they had failures, and that's something that Wildcard realistically hasn't really done throughout the stage, is try to be elusive on the roam, try to be lurking, try to be flanking. So that's something that Wildcard did, and they took advantage of OXG's lack of teamwork.
Yeah, M80 though, teamwork is not an issue here. We've seen them, at least today, show up very strongly. Complete night and day difference to what we've seen from them yesterday, and that's exactly what we need. They have now tasted defeat. They were able to bounce back. So as much as I am hopeful, it's also important to keep into consideration that they just came off of a BO3 series.
Yes, but it can be a double-edged sword. You can be tired, exhausted. The other team was just watching you, but at the same time, you could also be warmed up. And with the momentum that M80 had got from this game, there was a lot of clutches in their favor and a lot of situations where they were in control of the opening starts of the games. And I think that's the successor that's different with M80, is even though they just played, they're constantly adapting, constantly changing elements, running different utility ops, running different fragging ops. They're constantly being able to change the mold of the game, and that's something that we saw them do today that they haven't been doing, or that they didn't do yesterday against SSG. And one of the biggest factors was their opening kills. Against SSG, they only had 12 opening kills out of 33 rounds. That was pretty bad. Today, they had a good amount of kills. I believe it was 15 opening kills, and they only had 9 opening deaths. So obviously, out of the rounds that they're losing the first pick first, they're still able to clutch it up. As long as they maintain a majority of the opening round kills, don't make it harder on yourself, M80's going to be able to close out games way easier.
Yeah, something we did touch upon, however, earlier today, Lox, was the fact that Wildcard's map pool was not as deep as you might want it to be for a team of this echelon when it comes to playing these best-of series. So now that we've already seen what they're able to play in the best-of-3 series on the first day and today as well, I do feel like M80 in this map veto can potentially exploit that.
I mean, we had a scenario where Oxygen could have exploited. Did they exploit it? Absolutely not. We're going to find ourselves in a scenario here. Is M80 going to exploit it? And I think we are going to get a little bit of that. You know, when you look at this matchup going to Lair, I think this heavily favors the side of M80, just given the play style and where Wildcard has struggled. Now, to touch up on Fox's point, with these flanks and M80 starting on that attacking half, I actually do think this will benefit M80 heavy because they run the gridlock. They run the Nomad. So if really Wildcard wants to get wild and go for these flanks, they're going to have to eliminate one of those operators in the ban phase to be able to try to make that happen, because M80 isn't going to slouch on those flanks. They aren't going to be that Oxygen squad. They are going to punish you. So it's really going to be on Wildcard here, not only to keep the opening engagement going in their favor, but to really be aware of these flanks and when they can actually time it correctly than what we even saw in that previous game from Kansas.
I really like the map ban phase, just taking out labs, and essentially you get Lair, you get Chalet. So Chalet and Clubhouse are going to be heavily favored on a Wildcard side.
I'd agree.
But at the same time, Clubhouse, there's not too much diversity you can do on it. M80, we saw them beat SSG on it. That was the one map that they were able to actually win, and they were losing the opening kills constantly. So it's a situation where they will also have the Blackbeard. Dash might be playing it, but they'll have the Blackbeard on Kino. And that was something that kind of lost them the game against, or was losing them situations against SSG, which hopefully Hot and Cold will be able to manage whoever's call that was and be able to really rally behind the Blackbeard, the shields that he can control.
And similar to what I was saying in the game prior, is, you know, M80 gonna watch and see where Wildcard's strengths and weaknesses are? And for me, it's getting rid of the Blitz, getting rid of the Blackbeard, not allowing Dash to find comfort and forcing that Monty play, because as we've seen, he doesn't find a lot of success on Monty. He can't get that aggro, so you're already eliminating one player, and it's practically then a 4v5 at that point. And we see how well they play on their defense, being able to set up those crossfires. And if you can't have Dash be able to be that spearhead, they're going to struggle, and then it's going to fall back to Bay.
So then my question remains for the prediction side of things, because we've seen SR yesterday struggle to go for back-to-back best-of-3s. Are we expecting the same from M80? Is it going to be a different ballgame?
I think M80 should be favored. I'm going to predict that M80 wins just because Wildcard still was really good. The fact that they could take advantage of OXG not playing together as a team and those isolated 1v1s, especially on the roams and the lurks, I don't know if that'll be replicatable against a team like M80 with how good they were together.
I agree with it. I think I'm going to just go with Wildcard just for the sake of the desk or the couch to be able to, you know, go at one another. And Wildcard, I mean, they didn't look bad by any means, and I don't think it was a lack of also Oxygen not playing very well. I just think Wildcard fixed a lot of their mistakes that they needed to, and it clearly shows me that they learned from their match prior against SSG and how they were going to tackle, oh my God, I'm losing my train of thought. How they were going to tackle Oxygen, and then how they're going to tackle here against M80.
The one thing that I like that M80 did throughout the map ban phase is most teams, you ask yourself, oh, Wildcard only has 4 good maps. Why do teams keep playing on it? It's because you can only really ban 2 maps. So realistically, Wildcard's at least going to pick one of their favorable maps. Something that OXG made the mistake of and teams will make the mistake of is just picking one of Wildcard's other good maps, and then Wildcard can pick the other map that's free. So they're getting 2 out of their 4 best maps back to back. And that's something that M80 did not do. They banned 2 of their best maps, pick Lair, which Wildcard banned against OXG because they didn't want to play it. So they're taking them to an arguably weaker area for Wildcard. So it's something that, as the viewer at home, you probably don't understand too much of, but it's nice to see a team doing that because I feel like a lot of teams have been giving Wildcard the easier route in the map ban phase.
Oh, I'd have to agree. Why is your mouth wide open?
Everyone at Wildcard just lost their internet. So...
M80!
All right, it's going to be us 3 versus M80.
Yeah,
We're losing that.
No facts. We're going to be going over to a little bit of a break. We'll be back once the players have internet. We'll keep you guys updated. And the casters for the series as well are going to be Intero and Jesse. Hopefully you guys see them after the break. See you around.
Thank you so much for your patience, everybody. Tech issues cannot be helped. And of course, we rely on the internet as a utility to keep us super connected. And these teams are going to be super connected for 3 maps. We will waste no time because we know it's already been a long day. And depending on how these 2 teams match up, it could be another 3 hours of us spending time with you. Isn't that so nice, Jesse?
Oh God, 3 hours with Parker. Yeah, that's what we could have in front of us. At least we'll get some good Siege to watch whilst we bear through the noise. M80 coming up against Wildcard. Winner of this game will go on to top 3. Loser will be locked into 4th place for the stage. It's worth noting that there's not a huge difference between 4th and 3rd place overall. There's about $2,000 in prize money, and there's a bit of difference in seeding when it gets to the major, but the big difference comes when you get to top 2. That's when you get a whole lot more SI points. That's when things really start to get good for you. And first is, of course, even more. Both the lower bracket finals and the grand finals will be played tomorrow. So the winner of this plays Shopify Rebellion, and the winner of that will play Space Station for a chance at 1st place. Should be an exciting game nonetheless. We've got our operator bans coming on in. Lair tends to be a pretty open field for what gets banned. There's no hard meta. Usually you do see a focus on the walls. That's why both Mira and Kaid are getting banned out here for the defenders. And then attackers losing the Montaigne, losing the Ace, dipping a little bit into the hard breach bans. And Monty, probably the single most banned attacker on Lair.
Not really much on the line, right? Just the SI points, 50 points for 3rd and 4th place. So not a huge difference. There's a little bit of money, but yeah, honestly, this is more just about getting some game day reps in, as now these teams, as you rightly said, are preparing for the Munich Major. We almost existed in a timeline where the top 2 teams in the NA League failed to make it to the Major. If you're a fan of M80, that did not come to pass. You were going to be very excited by that one. They were spectacular games. Frankly, you and I watched them together while we were waiting for our best of 3 to begin. And I do kind of fear for M80 in terms of their stamina and endurance. Yesterday, for those that watched the Shopify Rebellion Space Station game, you saw, well, a really nice warm-up for SSG. I actually reached out to Troy after the match, and he said, no real excuse. Basically, we were just really tired and didn't play our best. That's it. And if you talk to these teams, they will all say the same thing. It is grueling to play a best of 3 and then get about 40 minutes of downtime to get back into the action. Now, Wildcard was involved in the first best of 3 today, so they've had some time to watch that M80 matchup. But losing their internet for 15, 20 minutes means added frustration, mental frustration, and it also means you can't get started. It does allow M80 a little bit more time to recover and prepare. Will it make a difference? It remains to be seen. 45 seconds into the round, and there's the first bit of action. Jesse Gunner almost beheading Bay. He takes some damage on the side of Bay, but still walking.
Yeah, real good opportunity there for the opening pick of the match, but doesn't quite come just yet. Bay has remained in this strong position, and without an ace, it's going to be kind of tough to open up that op wall from operations. They don't need to open it. They can simply force him back as they have now. The Goyo gets popped, and Gunner takes that space. Understanding that it's probably better if you're Bay to just give this up. You've already wasted a good 60 seconds. Now you can play with Kibas in the site, and Azami back behind the desk can be so powerful. So keep that alive if you can. Rest of the map also has players pushing through it. We see Kino here in Skybridge. He's going to retreat for the defuse kit, but yet to be seen which way he wants to go with it. Looks like it'll be ops. They do need a hard breach if they want to go for a plant in the mask wall. They'll use the first can opener from Gunner on the ops wall, and then the second one will sit in his pocket. You're kind of limited, Parker, at this point. If you want to go for a push from that room, you're going to have to make it through a tough angle, but instead it looks like Lobby will be the call, focusing on frags this time around.
Wildcard waiting this one out. Just a little bit over a minute left in the round. The first player dropped as Gavin finished off by the shotgun of Baby Shark, and Dash will find a second for Wildcard. Very quickly, M80 on their heels. You still got that shield up. You've been unable to open that ops wall, so Kino will just have to take the fight and the engagement head on. Kansan has not been a factor from a gunplay perspective, but his gadget will obscure the Blackbeard, who still kills Baby Shark after that little bit of close paranoia had ended. M80 now trailing by 1 with 30 seconds left. Diffuser still in the hands of the very capable Kino, and they will find another kill on the side of Wildcard. Dash will pay for the damage he did earlier. Both players that got kills on the side of Wildcard are no more. Bay's now dropped 2. M80 suddenly has grabbed the lead, and they might take out Kansan as well. Kino taking no prisoners. Spiker will need to clutch this round. He manages to drop Houghton, now shooting into the shield of Kino, but time is running out. A swing on over. Kino gets dropped in a huge play from Spiker. A 3K to save the round. My goodness.
Excitement all around in the team house for Wildcard. You can tell that the vibes are in a good place after winning their first game today, qualifying, and then a big clutch from the captain. Massive play from Spiker with the shotgun. I really thought I was going to be singing Kino's praises after that round ended because he was doing so much good work on that Blackbeard all by himself, don't forget. Gavin was the only player really playing with Kino. Diffuser was down below when he died. It was a nice rotate from Dash down the green stairs to find him. And the last 2 players on M80 that weren't to the Blackbeard were pushing from a different direction. So Kino with Kit was a little bit isolated, but he did so much work all by himself. It was almost enough to clutch up that round, but Spiker just better in the opening round. 3 kills, 0 deaths. One of the best kind of SMG-11 shotgun players, the SAS operator kit that you will find here in the North America League. It's been amazing watching him grow, not just as a player, but as a leader as well on this team. And we're seeing how well that pays off in that first round.
5 seconds remaining.
Remarkable play by Kino to close the gap between the two after Baby Shark and Dash gave Wildcard that leg up. And then, while Spiker is the savior and the hero of the round. Spiker is, an interesting little fact, the only player to enter this series yet to break 100 kills in the NA League. He is 3 closer now and just 3 away. He started with 94, up to 97 at this point. Everybody else has gotten to the triple digits. Highest kill total in the lobby goes to Gunner and Diffuser, tied between the two of them. They were the original duo that was picked up from that Beast Coast roster, well, at the time, I guess Beast Coast Cloud9, and brought over to M80 before Houghton and Gavin would complete 4 of the 5. At 5th player, who's no longer on the team, Spirits, actually played against M80 in the last matchup we saw. Unfortunately for Spirits, he will not be present at Munich as DZ in a rare position did not qualify for LAN. So these teams battling right now to see who goes up against Shopify Rebellion, which one will finish 4th. Loser finishes 4th, same amount of SI points, 50 for either team in 3rd or 4th, and then just a little bit more money for 3rd. But the goal is to keep going, isn't it? You want to make it so that you get to the grand finals. Right now, if you didn't watch the games yesterday, you won't know, but Space Station is once again in the NA League Grand Finals. They made an improbable run through the lower bracket in Stage 1. Well, Stage 2 a little bit better. They're at the top of the upper bracket. Baby Shark finished off by an impact nade. Killed. Down he goes. And M80 has a lead.
Yeah, they're really working at this armory hold. It's been a heavy commitment from the defenders locking into this room. They had the hatch open for a late retreat, but they've wasted a good amount of time with it. Even Toxic Babes being used relatively aggressively. Now we start to see some fights come through. Kans is able to find one, but his whole team bleeding around him. Bay falls, and it's just Kansan. Bomb site's below, by the way, Parker, but I don't know if we'll get there. Kansan needs an ace if he wants any hope of winning this, but he's got a Blackbeard on his face, and Diffuser across the map hits the shot. A weird round where it felt like the bomb site was armory and weapon, but not to be.
No, I mean, that's more of the stuff that M80 was hoping to pull off in round number 1, but knocked astride by a bit of aggression from that wildcard defense. I mean, it was Bay that was actually tussling with Gunner in the first couple seconds of that initial round, and I don't know if M80 was expecting such aggression. Again, M80's matchup against Dark Zero just finished about an hour ago, give or take. They have very little time to rest, very little time to prepare. They have to run this gauntlet. So right back into the action. If M80 is able to persevere here, well, hats off to them. That will be an incredible moment. They will get a day's reprieve before going up against Shopify Rebellion tomorrow. That'll be our first match of the day. And then the winner of that game will play Space Station in the grand finals to see which team claims Stage 2 champions. It could be Space Station again. They would be NA League champions across the board for both stages. You and I will be casting those matches tomorrow, and they have a bit of a later start. For those on the East Coast, I believe first match is set to go at 6 p.m.
Important for this game as well. I mean, you talk about the preparation that goes into these best-of-3 playoff games, and when you get into playoffs, when you get into LAN events, right, the coaching staff in particular often stays up all night getting every bit of information for the teams, making sure they're very much ready for the game that's coming up the next day. For both of these teams, I imagine most, if not all of the prep went into their first games, which were do or die for the major. They probably haven't prepped much for these specific opponents. This is going to be more of a kind of raw test of just how the teams do on their own, how their defaults look. This map in particular, chosen by M80, but incredibly rare for both teams. Wildcard have only ever played Lair a single time since this team was formed at the start of the year. And that was a 7-5 loss against OXG earlier on in Stage 2. So very much going to be kind of an element of surprise, I think, on both of these defensive sides. Might lean a bit more defender-sided than what we're used to because there's a lot less information going out. I think that last round might have been a good example of what M80 maybe weren't expecting to go up against, but still handled it quite nicely.
Discovery phase now still underway as M80 came within inches of winning round number 1, falling short in the final moments thanks to a Herculean effort from Spiker. Now, round 2. Far more practiced. What can they muster against this wildcard team, which has plenty of tools at their disposal? Ash, his attention is turned completely around. He gets punctured from the back as he watched the great work that was being done by the Maverick on that reinforcement. Diffuser, not credited with the kill, but instrumental in keeping Dash's attention.
This looks like setting up for a nice little Sens Capital play. They're going to have a lot of ways to stop that denial from up above. It'd be very hard to see the defuse kit because this Sens wall will block the verticality. Much like the Capital smokes are doing right now, they'll throw all their util in and try for a plant.
And there it goes, hot and cold with Diffuser in hand, but he's immediately taken out by the gas of Spiker. Kansan on the board as well, as Gavin has gotten one for M80. Both teams coming to blows, ending up in the exact same situation. Kino now to the rescue. Great in round 1. In round 3, he gets the Diffuser down and almost manages to get away with his life intact. A Nitro Cell will take what little remained. It's all up to that dynamic duo, the two highest fragging players on M80, Diffuser and Gunner. They're outnumbered by 1, so they will be outgunned. There's still gas canisters in pocket for Spiker too, so his advance can be blanketed by that yellow smoke. A drop though, Spiker not able to use any of it, and my Diffuser is just catching them as Wildcard engaging in a bit of a trust fall. Now it's Bay as the last man standing. M80 just waiting out the timer. They just need to keep Bay busy for a couple more seconds, and the round is theirs. Bay fishing for something. There will be no Yaga clutch this time. He takes down the Glass, but Diffuser gets the exit frag, and M80, who could have 3 rounds, will have to settle for 2. They take the lead.
You know, we're not supposed to have favorites as casters, but I gotta say, that is probably my favorite way to see a team attack on that bomb site. Taking top floor is so difficult as an attacking team when the bomb site's down below because the defense can hold 4 players up there. They'll have the hatch open to rotate back, really tough angles. So a lot of teams these days are simply taking bottom green control, tossing out the Sens wall. They add the Capital in for extra measure, which is even more powerful. And you saw it. Initially, that plant did get denied. The Toxic Babe from Spiker was really well placed to stop that plant going down, even without full knowledge as to where it was being placed. But then they just retreated to a backup plant spot. They got it down behind the pillar, not a big issue. You saw how easy that post plant looked. Just watching for the drop down the hatch, they had the ideal angle to catch that. So great plan coming out from M80. Executed it more or less flawlessly. Yes, they lost a couple of bodies, but they were never in a spot through that round where I thought they were really in trouble. Very much in control and happy with how that was going throughout the whole thing. So clean, confident rounds from M80 to start things off. Other than that miraculous clutch from Spiker back on the first round, I'd say they've been in control of this map since the very start.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of putting it. Lair is a fascinating map. I think we've talked about how it feels like there are times where it suffers from room-itis, but I do appreciate how efficient teams have gotten at approaching these off-site areas. And it doesn't play out the same way every single time. The space and design of the map allow for small variations that can have a profound effect on the way that you attack and you defend. So no 2 rounds in Siege are ever the same, but on a map like this, doubly so. What does M80 do now? They've managed to take 2 rounds. Again, they could have almost had a third, but you can't go off of what almost was. DZ almost won map 2, but it ends up being M80 who takes the spot. Don't look back, look forward, right? That's what M80 is going for right now. Already hunting down Baby Shark with that death mark from Diffuser's Deimos. Diffuser's off to a great start. 5 kills, and now Baby Shark will be punished by Kino, as it wasn't Diffuser's Gadget who gets the job done, but certainly aided in the misery of Baby Shark.
Nice little teamwork there. Good cutoff being held. Baby Shark doesn't really have the same teammates to fall back for, and nobody helping him get up those green stairs, so not a lot that he could have done. With that first pick, you've got to imagine M80 are licking their lips. No Blackbeard. It did get banned after the first quarter, so Kino is having to go back to the Glaz instead. An operator that he will be very familiar with anyways, so by no means a huge disadvantage. Bottom floor control now being held by Diffuser. The fact that they still don't have any pressure inside of operations is a little scary, but clearly this push is going to come Green Hall up through Sky, so it shouldn't be too big of an issue. And now a 2-man advantage as Spiker dies on the smoke.
Incredible start to this series by Kino, already up to 6 kills, and he's been a bit of the tip of the spear, both on that Blackbeard and on the Glass, instead of playing a more backwards-facing role and being the heart of this team. He's been the hands of it, and boy, oh boy, are those hands being put to work. Now it's Dashed sustaining some serious damage. Elsewhere, Bay punished by Gunner. M80 winning all of their engagements. Down goes Kino, but it's traded out immediately. And could we see another SAS clutch? No. 1 kill is all Wildcard is able to muster before Dash is shut down, and M80 has now taken 3 in a row. A terrific start here on Lair continues to improve for the team that just punched their ticket to the Munich Major.
And a really good round, as you mentioned, coming through from Kino. I feel like Kino doesn't get a lot of credit on this M80 squad. There's a lot of big names that often take the hype when talking about M80. But in my mind, Kino is the ideal support player. Coming into playoffs after the group stage, he had the fewest deaths in the entire league. He had the most plants in the entire league. He had played the highest percentage of rounds on shield, so he was playing the most shields in the entire league. And he had never lost a clutch. It's like through the single group stage, that's about as much as you can ask for when talking about a hard support player. Now, through playoffs, other teams have played more maps, so he's lost a couple of those stats. Still the current highest shield player, with 77% of the attacking rounds being played on shields for Kino. But I think it's really easy to understate how much impact Kino has on this team, and it's nice that we're getting to see him flex to a couple of different roles in this matchup and always finding big value, especially on that top floor site.
Wildcard will attempt to figure this one out. M80's teamwork against DZ was impeccable. Obviously, there were some slight blips, but they got the job done in a 2-0 that looked a little bit hairy there on that second map. Here, though, they're firing on all cylinders still. So while some teams might say they're a bit fatigued, other teams can say, no, we're warmed up and ready to go. In this case, it sure looks like fatigue is not an issue for M80 at this point, but a best of 3 is a long series. They can triumph here on this map, lose on Chalet, and by the time Clubhouse rolls around in an hour and a half to 2 hours time, you could be completely depleted. It comes down to when you woke up. It comes down to how long you've been gaming for. All of those things factor into your ability. On the side of Wildcard, they had a bit of a break, and if there was any momentum and they were feeling themselves, it could take some time for them to settle in. Wildcard narrowly won that first round and have not really been in the conversation for the 3 rounds that follow. So the scoreline is not exactly a perfect representation of just how dominant M80 has been.
Yeah, I'd like to see Wildcard maybe getting a little bit more active in some of these early rounds, trying to take the initiative. It's been 3 opening picks in a row now for M80, so if they can turn that tide, maybe get an advantage to start things off rather than losing someone early, that can make a big difference in terms of just starting these defenses off on the right foot. Can often be tough on a map like Lair. It doesn't always lead itself to aggressive plays, but you can find your opportunities in certain times. Gunner hunting for one of those opportunities for the attackers as he's entered in through the bottom floor. Nobody is here. Interesting, they didn't go basement. You'd expect it for round 5, but it will be armory weapon. Or not armory weapon, bunks briefing. They essentially defended the mid floor last time they came through in round 2, so may as well run it back, I guess.
That's a creep up now from Gunner, who was hoping to play off an oh my. He might have just escaped that cardiac sensor, but Kansan takes the engagement. Kansan, a terrific shot in his own right, able to match up against the best of the best in any region. That's a relatively easy kill onto Gunner. Only one logic bomb expended. Not great value from the Dokkaebi. M80 are going to hurt after losing that operator and Gunner early on.
A little bit retreat going on now. Kino does pick up dash across the map, so the numbers go back to even. I said I wanted the opening pick. They got it, but when it gets traded out, is that going to be as effective in winning the round? You did lose your 2-brow, which could be absolutely critical late round, keeping some of these hallways closed up, keeping the hatch or wall closed up. More creeping around now. Baby Shark and Kansan both quite far from the site, leaving Spiker and Bay alone up top, and then the site itself relatively weak. It's not the focus, though, for M80. They know how important it is to get in up above. They've got the same setup as last time when they were attacking this site, so they're hoping to go for another somewhat direct take through bottom green, but you can tell after losing Gunner, that plan has kind of been halted, and they're going to need to get back on track if they still want to go for this.
Kino's getting that diffuser down. Hot and Cold falling by the wayside. Wildcard in a good position. Now Kino has spotted Kansan to the rescue. Wildcard sweeping through this M80 team. Gavin tussling with barbed wire. Now will have to fight the 3 remaining players on the side of Wildcard to save the round for his team. Absolute best round that we've seen of Wildcard so far. They are almost assured to walk away with a victory here. Even if Gavin's able to bring 1 or 2 of the opponents on Wildcard down with him, it would take, well, a Spiker-like performance, and he won't get it done. Baby Shark says, no, there's some blood in the water, and the Shark is there to sniff it out. Wildcard's second round, they've closed the gap between the 2 teams to just 1.
And I suspected they might be going for the same push. They actually didn't. We're on the outside breach instead. Got that opened up with the thermite, and then Kino went in for another smoke plant under both Capitao and Sen's walls. But while they may have considered the top-down plant denial, right, they were able to stop any of that going down. It was Bay on green stairs that got this kill right here, and then right after Bay gets that one, it's a kill from Kansan inside a briefing. So from one bomb site to the other, ends up stopping that plant from Kino, which makes all the difference in the round. Tough to win from a point like that. So M80 trying something a little bit different on their second attack. Maybe couldn't quite get the control that they wanted green side, and so had to go for a bit of a backup. Something they probably will not be trying again if they see that site again, but won't be till overtime if we get there, because this is the last round in the half. Wildcard are avoiding Armory a weapon and do go back down to the basement to complete a standard rotation. I don't think this will be as aggressive as a hold as we saw previously, but you never know. They still have the Azami.
The final round of this first half, so these operators will likely be freed from their prisons. I mean, it really does depend on what M80 and Wildcard choose to ban on the flip side. We saw that triple hard breach ban earlier today against OXG, and I just want to take a second to comment on how miserable an experience that must have been to play with just a single hard breacher open. My God, I know you obviously had some thoughts on that. We talked about it briefly.
Yeah, it was not good to see coming out from them. Ooh, the hard breach bans were really hurting for OXG, but on a map like Lair, you don't see that quite as often. Hard breach is important, but maps like Nighthaven, Clubhouse, those are the maps that really lean into the hard breach where it's absolutely necessary to have it, but we just didn't quite see OXG being able to do much without it the previous game, and because of that, they're now playing a 5th, 6th decider. I should mention that 5th place decider game, I believe, is going on as we speak, although I don't think it's being streamed. That will be a game for 50 whole SI points, which can matter when we get to the end of the year.
You know, there's been great debate over whether or not that 5th place match should be streamed. Some teams take it very seriously, others do not, and it can just be a chill blow-off game. But with how few opportunities there are for teams that don't make majors these days, I would hope that anybody playing in it is taking it as seriously as is possible. Even if you're one of those teams that knows if we don't qualify, we're going to make a roster move, or you have some kind of inkling that you might, there's still some work that can be done. Great coordination there. The Yokai blasting the shield away, Spiker killing Kino, but maybe all for naught, Jesse, as M80 immediately doubles up on frags. Down goes Spiker, down goes Kansan. 2 of your best supports completely gone.
Yeah, Gavin by himself making some good vert. He got that pick across the map while with the shenanigans were going down over towards filter side. He's going to have to reposition, but with the man advantage, they can be pretty confident. Good time on the clock as well. I think Baby Shark just got caught on a drone. He should be dead to rights. Oh, but he hit a nasty shot, so it doesn't matter. 3v3 now as the Shark has equalized.
Baby Shark's having very high value with his kills here. He's only got 4 to his name, but they've all been round impacting kills. We try to caution people when you see the kill tally go up that sometimes a player that finishes with 10 kills might not have provided the same value that somebody with 5 did. Oh my goodness, a jump out from Bay. I like the thinking. I don't really love the result for Wildcard. It leaves Baby Shark to get more of those impactful kills. UMP's not really the weapon you want. That's a great pick on to Gavin. A inhuman shot. He has to worry about the control above. Diffuser hoping for his 10th kill. As Baby Shark now rotates all the way around and Diffuser gets the job done. 10 kills for Diffuser, and M80 will move out of this first half on Lair up 4-2.
Good to see Shark still shooting back despite the rough half that they had. He dropped 15 kills, map 2 versus OXG, to lock in that 8-7 victory and qualify the team to the major. I remember back when Wildcard were in Rio for the Reload events, they actually had a decent bit of fan support because they have Dash on this roster. They had the Brazilian representation. I'll be curious to see when they're in Europe if they get a little bit of that fan support too with Baby Shark on their roster. They've kind of built a team that can get cheered on no matter where in the world they play. I don't know if that was part of the strategy or not, but they might need the fan support because this game is not going so well, and they might have a rough couple of first games if they don't get a high seed heading into the major. I know the Des touched on how you don't want to be going against Furia. You don't want to be going against Falcons in your first game. If you can get in with a mid seed or a higher seed, it can really make a big difference once you get to that major event. I'll also remind everyone too that this is M80's map pick. So going up 4-2 your Lair attacks, I mean, that's pretty good. You expect that to result in a win, but if you're a Wildcard, I think coming into this whole series, you're more expecting to win on maps 2 and 3. It's only your second time ever playing Lair as a team. So if you don't walk away with the win versus M80, then there's still a lot of hope in the series to get to that third place and still play tomorrow.
I mean, the conventional wisdom with Siege is that it's always easier to defend because most maps have a very friendly layout for the defenders. And defenders tend to have a higher win rate on all of these maps and tend to do better. So it becomes incumbent upon you to pull off successful attacks. And it does kind of color our casting a bit because it's very easy for us to get negative about a string of consecutive bad attacks when in all reality, the job is very, very challenging. That said, if you've never really played any map, you're going to hope to God that you get to defend first or at least get comfortable and settle in on that position. Lair is like that thinking, but on steroids. It is a humongous map. As I touched upon in the first half, there's lots of strategies and lots of variations because of how big of a map it is, whether you choose to do a deep lurk, whether you choose to actually roam. Are you going to play close to the site, aggressively near the site? Are you going to turtle up and keep most people in those bomb sites? A lot of options at your disposal. This is not just a regular map to attack, though. So while Wildcard had all those things going through their head when they were defending, now they have to think, what are my opponents going to do? Where is M80 going to be? And you've likely seen M80 do this. They've likely studied it, but again, not a huge turnaround time between their match that they just had against OXG a couple hours ago and here to fully prepare. So I don't know. I don't want to get too negative, but I'd be shocked if Wildcard are able to keep the wheels on it for the remainder of this map.
Yeah, certainly not in a good position, but we'll see what their attacks look like. Interesting Mira setup from Hot and Cold. He actually has the Aruni gate outside the building that's on the wall but just behind him. Right here. This kind of fun. They had to run outside with the Aruni to set that up after the round started. It's the little rotate that you see to the left side. So not a common setup with these Mira windows, but it will be interesting to see what he can do with it. Certainly makes opening those breaches very intimidating. And after Wildcard bans both Bandit and Kaid, putting the fear into them and stopping them from opening the walls is not an easy task, but I think they've done it.
Sends an operator whose pick rate is steadily increased, but at a point now where I think it's just plateaued. You want to use those smoke walls, as you'll call them, to just conceal your movement. Down goes Baby Shark. Losing your Deimos really early, unideal. Losing anybody on your team, unideal. But what a powerful operator to help aid what might be a shaky set of attacks for Wildcard. Spiker taking some damage too, but they managed to open up that black mirror and push Hot and Cold off of his position where he has to fight his way out of it, and he ultimately loses it to Bay. So the numbers go right back to even with 50 seconds left on the clock. Hold on a second though, Jesse. Diffuser and Gunner decided that this one's just about over. Kansan's last man standing as Gavin takes down Dash. Hot and Cold dead means, well, it won't be a team ace, but M80 are liking their odds here, aren't they? Shotgun and the Scorpion, both trained at either side of the door. They'll plug the hole, and it's Diffuser, who wasn't even a consideration, credited with that final kill as M80's lead grows, and they're 2 away from putting a layer into their win column.
Yeah, not really able to get past the utility in that round, I fear, Parker. I mean, they eventually get the wall open, but by the time that's open, they have no ability to deal with the Kiba barriers that are still deep in the site. Gunner's playing a really gross angle behind one of those barriers to get the first pick in the 4v4, open things up. Another one from Diffuser from a strong angle, really shut down that operations push. Made things really, really nice, and despite losing Hot and Cold early, it just felt like they were very aware of where everybody was pushing. Again, the Kiba barriers, start to finish in that round, they were the real threat. We got distracted by the shiny toys, the mirror window, the Surya gates covering the mirrors, but it's always the Azami. It feels that tends to tip the scales in favor of defense. Probably the best defender in the game. Not able to get banned out if you want to focus your bans on the hard breach of the walls, which that's Wildcard's decision. Still hasn't really paid off, though. Struggled with the entry of the walls, struggled to make their first attack work, and now facing a 5-2 deficit. Not where you want to be.
5 seconds to go.
So, Spiker entered the day with 94 kills. Well, not the day. He entered this series because he played one earlier today, at which he got to that tally. We are on 100 watch. Spiker got 3 of his current 5 kills in that very first round, and it was a critical round, and all 3 of those kills were instrumental in winning one of the 2 rounds that Wildcard has been successful in. I don't think it's a consideration for Spiker at all. I don't think he's got it in mind. I don't even know if he knows how many kills he has, but
yeah,
1 kill away from 100 for Spiker will be something worth celebrating. Keep in mind on his role guiding this team forward, leading this team, playing the unsexy operators that more often than not will die without making a single kill happen. The fact that he's relatively close to some members of this team is great. So we'll keep an eye on Spiker, but the rest of the team, well, there's some real rough performances from players we do expect to do well. Bay in particular having a bit of a tough start here.
Yeah, Bay, entry fragger for this squad. You want to see a lot coming out from him. Dash as well. I mean, not always a big performer, but was the MVP in the game earlier to qualify up against OXG. Highest rated player EPS-wise, both on maps 1 and 2. So he might be out of gas after the first game that he played, but do watch out because Dash can come alive in an instant if it's necessary. A major champion from last season on W7M and hoping to repeat in Munich. For now, his team lurks around this mid-floor. Kansan, the only one inside, looking for a rare entry engagement, but hasn't found it just yet. I don't think they know he's here in bottom green, Parker. If he's quiet and cautious, he could get a freebie.
Wildcard's not paying him any attention. Down goes Diffuser at the hands of Spiker. That's kill 100, Jesse, and it comes against the raid boss of M80. Diffuser with 12 kills. Don't count out Kino, though. He's still on the board. Gunner's also gone from M80, so M80 very quickly goes from 5 down to 3. Wildcard haven't taken a single point of damage here. A very impressive start to this round, and there go all the walls. A beautiful thing to witness. Bay opening up this bomb site for the taking from Wildcard. They've got the forces to play off site. Down goes Gavin. Now Dash encroaching upon these defenders' position. They're just destroying them. A flawless round for Wildcard to pick up another one. 3 rounds for them, not a single point of damage done to one of the 4 teams representing North America in Munich next month.
Just a clean push coming through. It was a first a pick on the window from Spiker to clear out the raid boss, as you put it, and then Bay for the second frag, a player that we were just talking about. Both those opening picks coming from outside the building. I think M80 getting a little caught by some of the outside windows that they were running past or that maybe they were swinging instead. something that the Azami in particular is supposed to be quite powerful in stopping, but I guess just didn't quite have the Kivas in the right spots that round. Ended up losing too many bodies early to have any chance of holding that down late. Nice little shield play from Baby Shark in the late round too. So good to see a solid attack from Wildcard, one where they're able to kind of slow things down a little bit and let M80 make those mistakes, make those rotations that they're then watching for and can take advantage of. Saw how deep they got into the building too. Again, I think that Blitz and Ace combo just inside the med hall was something that M80 weren't super prepared for and ended up losing a couple of bodies for because of that. So something to watch out for if we head back to that bomb site. For now, the basement will be our third site. Both of these teams feeling it's going to be worthwhile committing to an armory hold. Look at that mirror window setup.
I like the Nook. I like what's being brought on the side of Wildcard. If Wildcard thinks that they can take advantage of M80's haphazard roams, then a Nook is only going to punish M80 even more. How well is the intel game on the side of M80? They have those black mirrors, I suppose that counts, but beyond that, they don't really have anything. No bulletproof cameras, no Valkyrie on the board. You're just going to have to play off your own instincts, so...
So what? Sorry?
No, it was so as in like a so, and then like the, you know, like a transitionary statement. Like it's not, I wasn't gonna, there was nothing else there. It's just like, you know, so it's like so ...
I feel like if you had said ... I would have picked up on that.
That's a normal
Maybe
human
next
thing to
time.
do, right? People say ... after they finish talking. Yeah, that's how humans communicate with each other.
Big push coming into Armory. Here comes the Blitz. Blinds it super out, but he's got a teammate, and Gunnar and Gavin are cleaning him up, Parker. Really tried to commit to clearing that Armory side, but nothing so far from it. Kansas has been stuffed out with all of these fire and toxic babes. Spiker trying to make something happen too, but the Kiva barriers are blocking his routes, and every player on M80 has now taken this opportunity to fall back to the bomb sites.
Two devastating losses for Wildcard, and just like that, M80 now in a very similar position that Wildcard was in the previous round. No damage has been done to M80 at this point in time. Hot and Cold having a bit of a rough go of it so far, and he's been playing more active roles as a defender. The kills are just sadly not really coming for him the way that I think he'd hope. Lots of noise now being made by one of the ejected Black Mirrors. As Baby Shark sees the bees that have been shot out by Spiker's gadget, still nobody from M80 is taking the bait. A Nitro Cell primed and ready for Gunnar as we hit the point where the execute is about to happen. 40 seconds left in this round.
Yeah, I mean, I like the verticality being used, but they don't seem to have information on anybody from M80. You see Gavin up at the top going for a little stroll, currently in Skybridge. If he has a good timing, he could single-handedly shut down this whole push.
Spiker now trying to get something open with that secondary can opener. Baby Shark pushing up, diffuser gone. That's the first potential domino on the side of M80. They will find Gunnar as well. Kino trades it right back. A drop from Kansan, not as successful as he'd hoped. Kino's just so good this round, so good this series. It leaves Spiker, last one to trickle in, and guess who it is? It's Kino with a 3K yet again. M80 moves to map point.
Very nice play from M80's Brazilian, taking out so many of those players late round. Again, I just feel like when you commit to that hold on the top floor, right, and it pays off for you that well, there's almost nothing the attackers can do in the 3v5. Something that I think we're going to see more and more teams doing. You know, it used to be back on the bottom floor of Lair, you would see the most common defense was just 5 anchors, 5 guys sit in the basement and they wait for the push to come in, and there was nothing wrong with that. We still see that pretty commonly. Then you'd see some crazy roam strategies. Maybe it'd be one guy by himself top floor. Maybe you'd commit 2 or 3. But I feel like recently, the last events, maybe since the season started, we started seeing a lot more teams commit to hard holding inside of Armory, using mirror windows, using Aruni gates, using whatever they can to commit to that Armory side as much as possible. Because, I mean, as long as you hold that as a defender, it is impossible to get a plant down offices with the hatch and the soft floorboards, of course. So you're kind of forced to hit it head on, try to clear it like Wildcard just tried, or completely give up, go over towards garage side, and then you end up quite predictable. That's probably the worst side to end up pushing. So nice to see both these teams trying that strategy. A little bit more effective from M80. That'll put them up to map point 6-3 now on their own choice of lair. Chalet will await us as Wildcard's pick if we end up there. Well, when we end up there, I should say.
I do think we will need a second map, Jesse. Not to once again dive into the depths of mathology here, but if it's a best of 3, I believe that means we need 2 out of 3. And you know, as the old saying goes, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So
counter. Wildcard could all lose internet again, in which case we just never play the second map.
Jesse, I would like to see my family again. So if I could be, if that could not happen, so that we could be free at some point, whether it be 10 p.m., whether it be 11 p.m., maybe even midnight, that's okay. I like to go to bed late. That is fine with me. I would like Wildcard's internet to pull through, you know? Bay, unfortunately, having a bit of a rough go of it. He's been quite good so far this stage in terms of kills, at or near the top of most of Wildcard's games, but it's just lair is not his map. Struggling to get anything going either on defense or attack. He'll be the first to die, and that's your primary hard breach. All your hard breach, frankly. You don't have any backup can openers on the side of Wildcard, so any of those hard walls, they're staying hard. M80 do not need to sweat any hard destruction.
Won't have to worry about that at all. And I mean, it's going to make pushing ops really difficult. I have to imagine, given that the Mira is not being brought, it was banned out. They don't have the same setup as before, but even still, you are firmly stopping these walls from opening. They lose Baby Shark again as well, who is likely trying to go down below, try to cause some disruption with the Deimos. 3 players, Dash, Kansan, and Spiker, all hopes on this map will rest on their shoulders. Good utility still with both Ying and Grim, but they've got to do some strong work with it.
This entry point for Kansan's going to be particularly challenging. All the fire underneath them. Cold might not get a kill here, though he does have an eye-watering 7 assists. Make that 8, as he allows Gavin to get on the board. Kino as well, and now it's all up to Dash. Spiker hitting the wow. Wow is right. M80 cruising through this map. I don't know what Dash is going to be able to do. He's going to take some damage to the Surya gates. As he finds the diffusers in that position, fire now in front of him. Cold could get more than 1 kill before this one's done. More action right now happening in the chat, Jesse, than in the server. I don't know what a jiggle pump is. Well, I do actually, but jiggle pump is also the name of my new band.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I've just decided it right now, as Dash is just prolonging the inevitable at this point. There's almost no way with half HP and the reserve utility on the side of M80 that he's going to be able to pull this off. So we will go to Chalet with M80 up 1-0. Just all about when Dash decides to take this engagement.
He's playing for Katie at this point, Parker.
Do it for the stats, right? He did prove everybody wrong in their earlier matchup against OXG. I already saw some commentary on social media about how much better he performed than other games. Down goes hot and cold. What can Dash muster? Nothing. Clock will run out. M80 taking map number 1. Bit of an anticlimactic end, but hey, it's an end all the same. Number 1 team in NA continues to cruise onward, hoping to make it to the grand finals against Space Station. A couple teams are in their way. They're already up 1 map over Wildcard. They could take Chalet, and that would be it. They would have a date with Shopify Rebellion tomorrow. They're looking mighty good. Wildcard will need to get their house in order, as their map is up next.
Bro, I cross-mapped Sean. The Ying was by pixel and I was top rocket and I one-pumped them.
This game's ass. Man, I said get his ass.
Nice. Good job.
Alright.
Can't pre-fire.
His ass, they get got. And M80 get the first map. I mean, this is kind of what we work. So why are you laughing?
As you said, this game's ass. I said get his ass. So like they're having like mid-conversation as that round is ending.
I love how Kino was just like talking about something like this had nothing to do with the round. He's just like talking about what happened on the other side of the map. But great game from M80, went as expected, in my opinion. I think they really led the charge, and great pick to go to a map like Lair. I think they just were able to have such control over everything and just constantly get the opening kills, run it through, carry on and transfer that into more picks. And I really like the way that, you know, Kino was using the Blackbeard on attack. I think it was really good. And that's something that we saw in their matchup, in their last matchup today, where, against SSG, where Kino was running it, but they didn't have the follow-up like they do now. And so it's nice to see them correcting those mistakes.
What specifically then did you like about it?
About the Blackbeard? I liked how M80 was playing behind it off of it, because in the SSG game, we saw there was a lot of situations where that was the call. Kino go on Blackbeard, and you'd get pressure, he'd get in someone's face, but no one else was able to follow him up. No one was able to be there. But time and time again in this matchup, maybe it could be because of the confidence of going up against Wildcard as opposed to SSG, but every single time that Kino was in a situation where he was applying that pressure, that's where we saw the rest of M80 actually acting on that pressure.
Yeah, it was a little questionable for me. I don't know if Wildcard's kind of like letting their foot off the gas or just happy that they qualified, but banning out the Monty instead of the Blackbeard, where again, and then you were, I mean, they had everything set up for the shields, but to leave Blackbeard over Monty, I would have much rather see Kino play a Monty given his story, given his history on it, where again, Blackbeard does allow you to fight similar to what I've talked about with Dash, you know, not using the Monty, being able to play on a class that can frag out, and then we see Kino on that exact opposite side, not being punished for it, and then actually abusing the Blackbeard and creating that space and finding a lot of leverage from it.
And it makes sense, I guess, on Wildcard's sense. They just went into it just thinking of, let's just play our game, let's play our Lair. It's one of our weaker maps. So they weren't really worrying too much about what M80 was going to do. But that was the downfall here, because M80 doesn't even really play Monty all that much anymore since Hot and Cold has been on the main support role. So I think Wildcard was just in a little bit in their own game, but they lost it. But now they're going on to their favorable map.
Yeah, Chalet is coming up next, and as we talked about already, like it is Wildcard's favorite map. But also, I kind of want to bring it back to your point, Lax, where you're like, okay, they've already qualified, like maybe they've let their foot off the gas a little bit. I think it's also important to take into consideration they played earlier today, so maybe a little bit of exhaustion coming here as well.
I mean, if anything, they should be carrying, you know, any bit of momentum they possibly can, because they still have to qualify for SI, and getting this win here and putting themselves one step closer to being able to go to a grand final gets them more SI points. So it is very important for them to still be treating this as serious. I'm not saying that they did let their foot off the gas, but obviously, as to what Fox was saying, they felt that it seemed that, you know, they weren't playing, they weren't trying to focus on what M80 was doing. They were more focused on how they can just play themselves, where that's not going to be the case here. Sure, you can find comfort in your own map, but you still have to play to your opponent and play that stylistic matchup.
It'll be interesting to see how Wildcard is able to attack on Chalet, because that's something that we talked about, is them entering on the map has had some difficulties, specifically since it's usually just Bea on his own or Baby Shark on his own. Although Baby Shark had a great game, he was hitting some nasty shots, but I would love to see what we've been talking about, which is Dash on the Blackbeard actually able to follow up on his teammates. When it comes to Chalet, since they're starting on attack, they really need to get the momentum up and get a good amount of rounds on their attacking side, the energy up. So if they don't, I mean, M80 is just going to look like their game all throughout map 2 as well.
Yeah, I think it's also important to highlight, though, like for M80, they have had a really good regular stage. So maybe like the fact that yesterday they had that realization that they're not undefeatable. I feel like if anything, today they're coming in with even more passion, because the goal ultimately will always be to win the stage, or at least be in the grand final. So for Wildcard side of things, I mean, I don't want to say that they are less, like when it comes to like their goals of the stage, it's like less than M80, but it's also like it is Wildcard, and the pressure on them to even make the international wasn't as high.
I mean, I would still say it was high. I mean, you still had to make the major, and given, you know, the last time they were at one was at Reload, which is what we were holding on to for so long throughout Stage 1. And you even heard Spiker in his interview, you know, they were so close and then would lose it out. So it felt good to be able to get the win that they did over Oxygen to just kind of rectify that. But then still here, again, the biggest thing to take away from these placements now is getting to SI. And that's, I would argue, far more important than being able to just make Munich itself, because that's the most prestigious event of the year. So we can't see Wildcard, and I can't see them falling short here, given this is their map preference.
Yeah, but we're also ready to head into our second map of the series. Potentially, M80 can make this a 2-or sweep, or Wildcard can push us all the way to the decider. Either way, we have our lovely casters coming as Jesse and Intero. So guys, take it away.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. We've repeatedly been put in positions where we think it's going to go all 3 maps, and then at the last second, it kind of falls apart. Do you think that Chalet is going to go into Wildcard's way, or do you think that M80 might be able to seal the deal here? This is a very lopsided community poll, so I mean, we can talk about this before we talk about your thoughts.
Well, listen, Parker, I think they've got better than 17% odds. I'll tell you that. I think Wildcard certainly are going to be looking good on this. The Desk talked about it as a strong map for them. They played Chalet a ton throughout Stage 1 and also at Reload. They only played it once in Stage 2, but that was a crushing victory over Cloud9 in the group stage, 7-2. But on this side, it's not a bad map by any means for M80. A 3-1 record this season, their only loss being an 8-7 game against W7M. And of course, one of those victories was against Dark Zero just a few hours ago. So maybe a bit of a benefit to Wildcard that they can sit back and watch that game. It'll be fresh in their memories. They maybe won't have every little angle. I don't know if they'll have time to go through the match replay, but if nothing else, they've just watched them play this game against DZ. So a little bit of an advantage in that sense, certainly for Wildcard. I think the big question for this map, the big test is like, okay, you lost your opponent's pick. You're the underdogs coming into this matchup. What level are you really at if you're a Wildcard? You know, how high can you hang? If you're beating M80 and then having a close map 3, I think we're starting to talk about Wildcard, or even win map 3. We're starting to talk about Wildcard as a real threat going into the major. If they kind of pitter out here and they maybe have a similar result to what we saw in the first map, then the narrative shifts a little bit, right? It's like, okay, still a young team. What are our real expectations for this squad? It's tough to really say after a game like that. So I hope we see a lot of life come out of Wildcard here. I want to see them really shine on this map. It's Chalet. It's a fast map. It's aggressive. I want to see them leaning into their gunfights a little bit more, leaning into their individual skill. But it's always tough going against a seasoned opponent like M80.
I've already seen comments on social media about how Wildcard as an inexperienced team won't fare as well as, say, Dark Zero or OXG, and those two teams should have made it. And, you know, I can understand why people say things like that, but at the end of the day, Wildcard is, objectively speaking, a top 4 team. And that's just it. They have made it. OXG did not. DZ did not. Wildcard, you had opportunities to push Wildcard out of the top 6 during the group stages. No team was able to do that. You had an opportunity to eliminate them twice here, and, well, nobody's been able to do it. So Wildcard is one of those teams. Yeah, they might not have the same international experience as a team like OXG or Dark Zero, and sure, they might not have the same resume that these other teams have, but these are players that have done pretty well before and should be given an opportunity to succeed. And my hope is that whether you're a fan of Wildcard or not, maybe you give a bit more grace and consideration to the team that has actually made it, or maybe it's just sour grapes from the fans of the teams that didn't.
Always a little column A, a little column B. Craziness going down inside of bars. We've got a Blackbeard fight going down. Kansan hoping to find Gavin, who's playing Ring Around the Rosie with him, but instead it's Kino who comes up from the basement, deals some damage. Gavin kills Kansan as well. I mean, it's all chaos, Parker. It's not done. Kino gets his second after his first was finished off, and he's just going crazy at the moment. Another drop for him finally takes him down. But Parker, what was that round?
I don't know. Do they have rodeos in Brazil? Has Kino gone to them before? Because that was a real rodeo inside of the site from a player who has been just steadily improving on this team. I remember the days of, God, when I was casting with Pengu way back, when we used to, I don't want to say mock, but maybe we were not the kindest to Kino about his Monty plays. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that we would always try to say when using that type of criticism was, well, it might not necessarily be Kino himself. It might be the way that the team is using him and deploying him. Because we've seen players who have been complete duds go over to another roster and take off. There's a player on M80. Actually, there's a couple players on M80 who are just like that. Hot and Cold's career was on a downward trajectory. He went over to Mirage, a team that people were left scratching their heads about. And then we had Hot and Cold blow up and be, I think he was the highest rated player, the first stage that he played with Mirage. And since then, he's just been impeccable. He's won a major since then. I mean, you could say the same about Gunner, picked up by that original SQ roster. Really poor performance with that team. Turns out he just wasn't well suited for the team. They weren't using him very effectively. he ends up being the MVP of the Manchester Major on that Beast Coast squad. So, honestly, hats off to Kino for what he's been providing to this team. Everybody on M80 has great numbers right now. The lowest KD is Gavin at +7, but Kino has been proving his worth on, frankly, harder operators than you think, and he's been excelling. And a big point of success for M80 has been because of Kino playing the way he has.
Yeah, we've talked a lot on the desk about kind of the role swap that happened between Kino and Hot and Cold over the summer offseason, and it's really resulted in both players finding a lot of success. More success in the entries being found by M80. It's something that they did extremely well on map 1 back at Lair, winning most of those opening gunfights. They'll find another one here onto Baby Shark. Taking down the Deimos, always an important operator to be able to clean up, and now you're left with just 4 of these attackers who looks like the plant might come eventually. Solar side, that's where Spiker is with the fuse kit. We're still quite early. You can see Bay is, of course, here library side trying to do something about the player Mez, but it might just be more of a distraction, more of a bait, as the rest of his teammates are really focused around the site, not getting into the building yet, but setting up these Sens walls, getting ready to go for big plays. One thing I will mention is there are going to be mute jammers set up around the site specifically to stop these Sens walls, so be very cautious about that when those walls come in. You don't want an awkward gap to be revealed at the moment of the execute.
They lost the Deimos early on Layer as well on the side of Wildcard, Jesse, if you'd recall. And I mean, this is obviously much more familiar territory for Wildcard. This is their favorite map, so they're starting on the side that M80 picked for them. M80 opted to defend first, so you have to think that the defenders will have an advantage, or maybe just M80 thinks that's the best way to match up against Wildcard. Frustrate Wildcard by giving them a series of unsuccessful attacks, maybe get into their head. One thing that you can say about a team like Wildcard is that their lack of experience as a team will mean that the team dynamic could potentially flounder a little bit if emotions run high. I mean, we've been seeing the faces of the Wildcard guys. They look like they're in pretty good spirits, so all we can do is really just speculate. Confused by what Dash was doing there for a second.
You got the Banshee.
They slowed down, but I didn't hear the wub-wubs as they've been dubbed. 9 players still alive, Jesse. 20 seconds left in the round. This is very, very rare to see. Wildcard showing a lot of hesitation. They have no idea how to approach this bomb site. They're going to march on in. Down goes Kansan. Dash not long for this Earth as well. Nitro Cell tossed out just to stop the Wildcard players in their tracks. And the round will end. Wow, with 7 players still alive. Spiker had been downed, but the kill had not been secured. So all 5 still up on the side of M80. 2 players alive, though, one of them bleeding out on the side of Wildcard. Technically a flawless round. All the players on M80 survived, but didn't kill all the opposition. I mean, you won on time alone, and there's 5 of you. That's flawless, right? Wildcard wasn't able to do much damage and immediately calls their timeout. This is the worrying sign to me. This is your map, and you've called a timeout after round number 2? That does not speak well for the confidence that this team has.
I mean, I do understand it. It doesn't speak well. You're absolutely right, but I get it after that round that they just had. I mean, complete stall going on there. They had the Sens walls all set up early in the round. They were using them early in the round. I'm not sure if they ran out or if they were somehow destroyed by the defenders. I didn't quite catch what happened, but by the time we got to the last 5 seconds and Wildcard eventually hit the site, there were no Sens walls to be seen. They had none of that coverage that they had spent 2 minutes and 55 seconds setting up. So it felt like they took a lot of time in the early game and setting up their utility, and then they didn't even get value out of their utility when they went for the execute. So yeah, one of the worst pushes that we've seen from Wildcard in a hot minute. Plenty to fix, I think, going into the next round. Again, they did lose the opening pick. That kill onto Baby Shark outside bathroom window was the main thing that really stopped. It was the only real action in the first part of that round, but you wouldn't imagine just losing your 1 entry fragger would be that big of a stall, right? You need to be able to recover from moments like that. And yeah, just not sure if there was never a trigger called, if there was never a go that was decided upon, but M80, a clean 2-0 to start Chalet.
Not the spot you want to be in when you're looking to make top 3 in the region. Shopify Rebellion is waiting and watching some of their members might even be co-streaming
5
this
seconds remaining.
right now. Saw a variety of big names still watching these matches,
Use a bomb.
even those that are affiliated with teams that are competing or have competed. I think it's good. Just being a pro or a coach or an analyst or a content creator or affiliated with an organization is not often enough these days. And if I'm ever asked for advice when it comes to participation, I say, if you've got any type of platform, use it to grow your brand. I know you might not like it at the beginning. I didn't particularly like streaming as well, but good things can happen when you take the opportunities that are given your way. If you are on a team with an org, affiliated with them in some way, I strongly urge you to either co-stream or do companion streams, or if you don't want to stream yourself, at least put your name out there by spending time with people who are streaming it. A, it ends up being quite a bit of fun. B, it's good for the scene. And C, if neither of those really matter to you, selfishly, it could be good for your brand. Wildcard might be hitting the site hard and fast as Dash bursts through. He's disoriented from the Guzmat mine. Looked like he stalled for a second there. Kino, the first casualty and the only casualty up to this point. The Blackbeard will take no prisoners. Dash just continuing to rush on in. Yellow looking in the wrong direction. Baby Shark on the ground. Bay getting diffuser down. M80 just imploding at this point in time. Gunner's the last one standing, and he will have to deal with a timer and 4 angry Wildcard players. I love that they use their timeout to workshop this. It has very effectively defanged this defense from M80. Gunner's taken one down to go 4-0. Now we'll try to long arm, and it's a bit of a foolish prospect. Somebody will find him. They'll circle the wagons. Kansan takes him down, but all 3 players from Wildcard searching for that final kill. Gunner was not getting out of there alive. Wildcard finally on the board on their own map.
Well, after being the only death for 2 minutes in the last round, Baby Shark certainly makes his presence known in this one. Great push in through Mudroom to get those last 2 kills. Great movement starting on the floor, jumping up for his second frag. I think that really made a big difference in the success of that push coming through from Wildcard. Traditionally, you would see a plant like that denied from up above, right? Because it's complete soft floor, top floor. If you're a roamer up above, you can definitely come through and stop that plant from up top. Gavin and Hot and Cold were in position to go for something like that, but they made the decision to rotate down the blue stairs just because they knew there was strong window pressure. It was actually Spiker on the Nomad that was holding from up above, and while he didn't kill any of those players directly, he's the big reason why they were forced to run back down, had to do battle with the Shark inside of the Mudroom, had to do battle with all the site players that were here causing so many problems. Really nicely executed coming through from Wildcard. I think notable that that's not exactly a push that requires a lot of map control. Feels like on a lot of these pushes so far, they haven't really been able to secure themselves in a strong spot on the map. Usually, just as that last bomb site is an example, you'd see a team maybe go in through Master, take piano control, get inside of Office, and then try to work some picks of the players playing around the top of the stairs or around Mezzanine or something. But Wildcard, just a fast, aggressive rush is their first round to get on the board, and it's good to get something to start with, but you got to imagine they will need to take some map control if they want to win some of these other rounds.
Attackers must locate and defuse a bomb.
We've been able to see in real time how players like Baby Shark and Dash have settled in on this roster. You know, as I speak from experience here when I say it's not easy to upend your life and move to a whole other continent. Just like it's not easy somehow to be a Deimos on attack on Wildcard. They have a life expectancy of about 45 seconds, if that. In the first 10 seconds of the round, Bay, the Deimos, has died to Gunner. M80 have now a massive, massive advantage. Not just getting rid of the Deimos, but having so much time for them to settle in. But I wanted to just take a moment just to kind of give a tip of the hat to both Baby Shark and Dash. I know that they're not new to North America, but neither of them speak English as a native language. There are cultural differences. There's lots of things that you don't necessarily think about, and that comfort level can prevent you from being at your best. Baby Shark and Dash have improved as this team has found their footing, and I have to imagine part of that is that they're getting a bit more comfortable with where they live and with whom they live. Wildcard all live together. Baby Shark, though, having a bit of a rough go of it. Kino shreds him as he's still playing on that upstairs angle. Baby Shark not able to muster all that much. Dash playing on the Amaru with 0 kills is, again, on his roll, not necessarily good. And Amaru's going to want to slingshot into the site or near the site and do some serious damage. He's got the shotgun and the SMG-11 as his loadout, and Dash can make some noise. They're hopeful that he will, because if not, this one will go by the wayside. It's already fallen off for Wildcard in a hurry.
Yeah, I was really excited when I saw that op lineup, you know, Nook coming through. You've got Amaru as well, but I'm not sure we're going to really see much from it. Kansas on the board with 1, but now it's a 2v4 as you've been able to trade out, and M80 just sitting back in the site. Nobody looking to get aggressive at this point. Nobody needing to get aggressive. 60 seconds left on the clock. Wildcard have to go back out, get that defuse kit, and then find some way into the site. With Dash on this Amaru, might have a bit better time than M80 will be expecting. I could see something crazy straight in through the master window, but not going to be simple. And with Dash's position, I don't think likely either.
That Supernova does pack quite the punch. It's a nice skin, too, as he unsheaths his W7M branded SMG-11 to Jiggle Peak. If he had the shotgun out, I guess you could call it a Jiggle Pump. The name of my band, of course, if people had forgotten from the very first match. Dash has that diffuser, but M80 have the numbers. They've got the time as well. Kansan will really be the big question mark here. Tossing out a flash, maybe keeping this M80 team from seeing him. Nope, that's not exactly what will happen at all. M80 gets the final 2 kills needed. They suffer only 1 player. That was Gunnar, who basically toppled Wildcard very early in this round, and M80 continue business as usual, regaining a 2-round lead.
Again, for Wildcard, yes, they might be on the unfavorable side, at least in M80's opinion, but you do want to be racking up the attacks on Chalet. It's generally a 50-50 map, if not slightly favorable for the attackers, and M80 themselves have been quite a proficient attacking team. Up against Dark Zero earlier today, they played 4 attacks and they won 3 of them. So they're very strong at attacking on this map. Wildcard would love to leave this at a 3-3, but even a 4-2 I think would be fine given where you're at right now. You can't afford to go down 5-1 in this first half. These next couple of rounds will be critical. Game's just not started how you want. I talked at the start of this game how Chalet's an aggressive map that can often rely on individual gunplay, and we've seen that out of M80. Lots of spawn peek, lots of aggression, lots of ways to catch Wildcard off guard, but it's not coming back the other way. Aside from the 1 rush just in through the game's window, we just haven't seen the success from them. Kitchen for our next bomb site, and then it'll either be games or the basement to end us out. Really hoping that Wildcard can get something going here. They'll put 0-4 Dash on the Monty to try to recover something.
I remember back before shields were as meta as they are, you would slap the guy who was just not hitting anything on a shield. I remember Iconic got put on that role at the Charlotte Major Finals after he entered that match against Dark Zero as the highest rated player in the entire event. And he was so poor, they said, you know what, we're going to put a shield in front of you and hope for the best. Sadly, that Astralis team would not achieve the best. Easy ended up winning it. That Astralis team, though, is definitely one that has one of the more memorable runs. That and then the 6th Invitational as well in Montreal when they went on an improbable top 4 run where they ultimately got beaten by, I believe it was G2 en route to G2, winning with a coach whose name I honestly can't remember. So it's not like he's definitely still active and certainly isn't coaching one of the teams in this match. Oh my, Dash. I mean, you can put a shield in front of his face, but he almost dies early yet again, Jesse.
He is the primary shield player on this team. He's not just being put on it for stats, but not the greatest entry into the building for him. It does force some of these M80 players back. Diffuser is not fearful just yet. He's still playing with Gunnar top floor as well. More damage now into Dash. 1 HP left. They're just catching weird little angles on him, and I think he's assuming Gunnar to leave, but this is still a crossfire setup, and now maybe Gunnar wanted to fall back. I don't see any support for Dash at the moment. Bay is inside of Library, but otherwise, I'm struggling to see who is supposed to capitalize off the space Dash is making.
Oh my, down goes Dash. So if they finally managed to get him, he was a man walking on borrowed time. And unless he's able to muster something in the next round, this will be the first half without Dash getting on the board. Compounding this issue is Bay's struggles too. The guns just aren't gunning for Wildcard. This is honestly, oh my, a reoccurring thing. I mean, when you got Kansan on your team, he can always pull stuff like that off. He's now disoriented inside of the lobby as the F-Naught from Gunner's Fenrir takes his vision away. Dump down towards blue just to isolate one of these defenders. 40 seconds left, and both of these teams in a 4v4.
Double from Hot and Cold finds Spiker. The rotate has happened, and there's another down. Hot and the site is doing everything he needs to. Parker Bay, the last one in the 1v4, but can't get the job done. Great anchor play coming through from Hot and Cold at the end. Really nice stuff coming out from him. I gotta say, again, Wildcard really struggling on that roam clear. You saw how much they were worried about blue stairs there, right? They had the guy on the cases window, top floor, watching for blue stairs. They had the Grimbees going out. It was about 35 seconds when they were shooting beehives at the blue stairs, worried about Gunnar. Gunnar had not only already left the stairs, he was already through the basement up Westmain, whilst they were still worried about clearing him. I think losing track of players a little bit on the side of Wildcard, and especially losing your main shield player as the opening death, I mean, feels really rocky in a round like that. So we thought maybe M80 would be out of gas going back-to-back after playing that first BO3 and then coming straight into this one, but it seems like they've got a lot more in the tank than Wildcard do right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most damning thing here for Wildcard is not who they're losing first. It's not, frankly, when they're losing them. It's the operators that they keep losing first. Amos going out immediately, Monty going out immediately. Yeah, I know these are operators that are going to be leading the charge into the building, and they are most likely to be the op you lose right off the rip. But there's no real variance here. You just keep losing these super high impact operators early on. M80 is just punishing you. Wildcard have been struggling to get in the building, to get anything going. They struggled with it on layer. They're struggling with it here now. And it's honestly not really us wagging our fingers at Wildcard. It speaks to the strength of a team like M80. The only time that Wildcard succeeded on attack was when they decided to just rush the bomb site. And I mean, it's kind of hard for you to have some troubles getting into the building when all 5 of you jump through windows in the first 20 seconds or so.
Gunnar in the rat spot. This will be a freebie. Bay is gone. There he goes. Second time these playoffs, we've seen a player go misdroned in that solar rat spot, and it can just be so effective, especially when you know you're playing against players that might be a little bit demotivated. Gunnar somehow is getting all the way out to Library 2. Nothing can stop this man. 3 magnets in his pocket. He's still got a setup. So that would have been a valuable pick had they droned and punished it, but he's just these simple mistakes going over and over. It's tough to drone all of Chalet. You got to take shortcuts sometimes, but the fact that there's no trade, no follow-up really hurts if you're a wild card. Another opening death goes the way of M80, and they'll do what they consistently do after they get a man advantage, Parker. They'll rein things in, they'll go back to the bomb site, and they'll let wildcards sit around and twiddle their thumbs for the next 2.5 minutes.
Bad time for Bay to put in one of his worst performances against tough opposition. Much was said during the group stages about the difference between the top of NA versus the middle and then towards the bottom. I mean, the top was M80 and OXG. One of those teams no longer with us here in the playoff hunt. OXG bid farewell by this wildcard squad just a couple hours ago, ending any hopes of OXG representing the region at the Munich Major. Wildcard grabbing that spot, but again, that chatter was that Wildcard, historically not the most successful on an international stage. Doesn't really matter. You have to start making it to events to get that experience, and Wildcard will be there. But I mean, it does show that M80, for good reason, were the top team in the region. They earned this. Down goes Dash. He will exit the first half without a frag. Kansan picking them all up, though. Now as down goes Kino on his side, traded out immediately by Diffuser. M80 just playing keep away at this point. Gavin with 1 pick. Scoreboard flying so fast, I can't even see it, and it does look like we're in for one heck of a defender-sided Chalet. That's good news for Wildcard, as they will now pick up the mantle from where M80 dropped it, but a 5-1 first half for the team that already won a map. That puts Wildcard in really bad territory.
Parker, I got good news and I got bad news.
Hit me with the bad news first.
I won't do that. I'm going to hit you with the good news first. The good news is that the last time Wildcard played Chalet, they won 5 of their 6 defenses. They were very successful. They have a history of doing well on the defensive side. The bad news is that game was against Cloud9. And despite the fact that both Cloud9 and M80 have dropped Packer in the last 8 months, they're very different teams. And I think M80 will be a little bit stronger on their Chalet attacks coming into this game. operator bans coming through. We do see a zombie, as she is perma-banned on this map, get removed, along with the Kaid, which is a bit rare to see on Chalet. And then the Monty ban coming through from Wildcard, again targeting that against Kino. It's something the desk didn't like about that first game, is how hard they focus on the Monty ban. Despite that, they will repeat it and instead leave up the Blackbeard, leave up the Blitz for Kino to try to abuse.
I wish we did exit interviews for the teams that don't win, because I think there's a lot to be learned from how things went right or how things went wrong. Wildcard only been able to do, what, 3 rounds now? It was a 7-2 on layer and 7, or it could be a 7-1 here. There was 2 rounds, right?
It was a 7-2 or 7. Yeah, I'll look it up. Honestly, it wasn't a very memorable map, if we're being honest. Wildcard.
How could you say that? How could you say such a thing?
It was 7-3. It was 7-3.
7-3.
5 seconds remaining. Attackers must locate and defuse a bomb.
Did you have a point you wanted to make with that 7-3, or?
No, I just mean that it's, the point I was making was that I'd like to get the exit interviews. Right? Sorry, I didn't do the ... dot for you. I forgot that you need to read text and hear text in human form.
Thank you.
Through the language that we share and communicate in regularly.
Thank you.
No, my point was, if Wildcard does end up losing by quite the deficit, which seems like it might be the case, then I think it's important that, or could be interesting, if we were to hear what they have to say, right? That the first thing I did when I saw Shopify Rebellion get smoked was message Troy, because I wanted to know. And obviously he said more than that, but I'm just not going to say everything he said on a broadcast. But at the end of the day, I mean, it was summed up as we were tired, they were less tired, they were a better team. That's really just it, right? And I mean, I think a lot of teams will say that. It's been very common. Troy said that before in matches like this. And I mean, way back in the old DreamHack days where you would be playing multiple best of ones, multiple best of threes over and over again, teams will tell you how exhausting it is.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see what Wildcard has to say. Did you just note that double frost, Matt, over the bathroom window right here, by the way? And yeah, it gets immediately droned by Diffuser.
He doesn't have nades, despite playing on the striker. Gunner could come over with nades, or Hot and Cold could as well. You don't want to be jumping into that. Even if you shoot down, you're likely to fall into one of them, so you got to clear that before you get on in. Common strat, because, well, players will jump in and shoot, but you're likely to only shoot one when you're jumping in. Now Hot and Cold is starting to get these tracks underway. He's found the Frost, and they're going to be pushing in through cases. It's a menace, though. Baby Shark gets 2, and there's another from Bay.
M80 just completely torn asunder. Gavin, last one up. Wildcard about to get a flawless round of their own, but Gavin does not want the engagement all the way into the bomb site. No. Not the bomb site, but where the diffuser lies. Not Diffuser the player. Diffuser the diffuser. They'll hunt down Gavin now as he's outside. He either has to go through the office, he will deny a flawless, or vault in through the window, or maybe just go through the main lobby. Gansen's been retrieved after some damage is done to him, and, well, yeah, the scoreboard disappeared, so we didn't even see who got the kill. But either way, Wildcard wins the round, and the gap closes ever so slightly. Wildcard desperately need motivation boosters. They are 2 rounds away from being NA's 4th-ranked team.
Nice little 3-2-1 attempt from M80, jumping in through the piano window, but didn't quite get there. It was read really nicely by Baby Shark instead. I was paying attention. They didn't jump into a Frost map from what I could tell. The icon didn't appear on the HUD, but the Frost was lurking around the corner, just waiting for that play to happen. So very nicely set up and predicted by a Wildcard. As you mentioned, gets things underway nicely for them on their defensive side. If they want to win this, they'll need at least 5, maybe 6 defenses on their own. They do play all 4 sites on this map. A lot of teams have stopped running the basement on Chalet. It's kind of fallen out of favor over the last stage and a half, 2 stages, as most teams are sticking to the top floor or the mid 2 floors. But Wildcard liked to play them all. They played all 4 sites against Cloud9, and in case you were wondering, the one site that they lost was Kitchen and Dining, so might see them avoiding that one, might not. Again, thought to be one of the stronger sites, so I expect them to pull it out at some point. RN Games will be our next site that we see in the rotation, and for Wildcard, setting it up relatively standardly. Only Kansan in the bomb site, everybody else roaming top floor. Dash and Baby Shark kind of aggressive closer towards the master side of the map. We'll see if they stick around and try to take early gunfights, or if this is going to be more of a shoot some drones and fall back type situation.
Fun to see how it plays out. Dash finally broke that goose egg in that round, getting kill number 1, tying himself with Spiker, who, if Wildcard does go out in this map, you can at least say that Spiker got that 100th kill, which is, again, probably something he doesn't care about at all, but it's something that is interesting and worth talking about here on this show. Gunnar just... Oh, he lost. Okay, I was like, what was going on with Gunnar there with the drone? I think he got it all the same.
With that information, they're going to be able to start opening things up. I like that little smoke play with the Selma charge, try to open things up and deny that back bar position. It's going to make things really awkward for Spiker. You see he has to rotate over towards Games in the bottom right of your corner. He's no longer able to play in sort of that bar stock room with the ace opening up the wall. Minute 45 and still no picks, but that is okay for M80. They've managed to make some good space. They've got control of the basements. They've got some drones in as well, even if they are being shot out. Once they can start setting up things with these Capital bolts and with the utility that they have, even the air jabs, that's when things can start to get going.
Oh, Bay will feed hot and cold his own head. Right through the smoke, there was some hope that he'd be able to get the kill. Hot and Cold having a much better performance here on this map than what we saw out of layer. Now Diffuser will die after Dash was put into the ground. Still in this position is Bay, but he pops up like a game of whack-a-mole, and it's read right by M80 as they boop him right back down. Somebody on Wildcard will need to pick him up, or it'll be a 3v3 for the remainder of this round. 1 minute left for M80, now experiencing the same struggles that we saw Wildcard go through in that first half, as M80 tries to grapple with it. A nice shot from Spiker. That's a frustrating one. Very worried about the vertical play. M80 has not been very well prepared for it.
No, so far this has been starting to fall apart a little bit. If they don't lose that pick, 3v3, things look nice. Gunner's found some space, though. He just walks straight through the lobby, and they don't know about this. Parker, Spiker dies, and Gunner's in a really good spot.
Gunner with the same amount of kills as the last 2 remaining wildcard players, but Kansan is the element of surprise. Out goes a Nitro cell. They manage to walk around it. Gunner takes down Baby Shark, and now it's all up to Kansan, who gives his position away. Kino will save the day, and M80 will move to series point. 3 minutes away from advancing to play Shopify Rebellion tomorrow.
We're seeing shades of Gunner the last time he was attending a major, and of course a champion MVP, as you mentioned not long ago, Parker, will be his 5th major event once he heads to Munich later next month, and he's looking on point. Fantastic game sense to realize what the gap is in a round like that. He even seemed to know about Kansan's position as he walked in through Fireplace. You know, he rotates back down to that main floor. His team has control of up above, but he knows that if there's no second dimension, it's not going to go so well. Some weird fighting going on kind of trophy side there, but that's, I think, really the difference maker is Gunner's excellent decision-making to get down towards lobby and then brilliant shots. That one onto Kansan, not easy to hit by any means, and not the easiest gun that he's wielding either. So nice to see him pull that off. It is now 6-2. M80 just need one of the next 4 rounds, and they will be locked into a top 3 position, and they'll be playing tomorrow up against Shopify Rebellion.
10 seconds to
SR got into the position that they are in by clinching the 2nd spot for the Munich Major. Troy facing off against his former team of Space Station. And I mean, there's always a bit of a funny story when he plays his former teammates, even though there's only one that remains now in Fultz, but still the organization that, well, he won a world championship with, lifting that hammer in Montreal. They got 2-0'd, and not just 2-0'd, but that second map was a 7-0 as well, pushing Space Station into the grand finals for the 2nd time this year. SSG won stage 1 and are now in a great spot to do it again. The Rebellion will wait for the winner of this match, which might be M80, but after this round, after losing Kino as early as they did, Baby Shark getting that pick on a very intriguing challenge, it might be M80 having to wait another round. Wildcard now at 2 rounds. Plenty of time left. Gavin walking in. They've got control of the bomb site on the side of M80. He sees the Yokai drone. He has a good idea of where that Echo is. Inside of the closet, the Goyo is fighting back. Dash emerges from his position with the sidearm out. But M80 losing control of the site, albeit temporarily, now regained it. Down goes Baby Shark, and Bay is last man standing. As the clash, he can make some serious noise. Gavin with 3 kills for his team, having a great effort this round. M80 just need one more kill, and they move on. That's it. Connor finds it. That's the ball game. M80 advancing to play against Shopify Rebellion tomorrow in the lower bracket finals. Wildcard will have to settle for 4th in NA, but 4th is good enough to get a major spot. So a good day for both of these teams. We will see them in action on German soil next month. We'll see M80 tomorrow against Shopify Rebellion.
A little disappointing result for this game, but again, I think both teams will be extremely happy with how the day has gone overall. Plenty to work on and plenty to prep for as the major is just a few weeks away, but it'll be time to grind for Wildcard, get that practice underway. M80, as you mentioned, a big day tomorrow that they will have to get ready for, but some time off for now at the very least. A big, dominating game to end things off here against Wildcard.
You need to go help him.
Right. Outside.
Go jab for Jazz, you're good.
Okay, call all your
Think
pushes.
office, I'm ping. On the bomb. No ass.
No, we
Gonna
can't.
play kills or what?
Yes, we have to
I
play
got
kill.
both echo drones.
Don't have to. There's a... Oh,
Nice.
Good
Oh,
fuck. He gave me the kill.
guys.
What the? There was literally no one on the setup. Like what?
And with that, M80 secures top 3 here in the NAL. They still have another game at least tomorrow. But before we head into that, let's bring over Kino. To be completely fair, we're going to keep this nice and quick and easy because I'm assuming you guys are tired. We've had a long day too. So congratulations on another win. You're going up against SR tomorrow. How are you feeling about that?
Really good. It's always fun playing against those guys, you know. They're the best team in the NA.
Really?
And they will forever be the best team in the NA. Yeah. Every team that Troy's on is the best team in the NA. They superstar team.
Okay, that's some great words. Humble opponent.
Yeah.
You know, yesterday specifically, did Fabian say anything that really got you guys going today?
No, honestly, Fabian didn't say anything. He's been check stealing ever since he joined the team, and just no motivation from him, no nothing. But we were like, if we're not gonna do it for Fabian, let's do it for us.
When you guys
So we did it.
when you guys do your like prep and stuff, because we know that sometimes Fabian won't do interviews because he doesn't have pants on. When you guys do prep and stuff, does he have pants on in the prep, or is he just standing next to you guys?
I mean, he's
Nope.
from
He's
home.
not here with us,
Yeah.
but he tells us all the time that he's always like butt naked, like nothing on. It's a little freaky, but I mean, all right.
Well, yeah, you know what? Thank you so much for the interview, Kino. Anything you want to say, actually, to SR specifically for tomorrow? Maybe, like, I don't know.
Not much I can say, honestly. We're probably going to lose. That
Okay.
is the best team in the NA. They are all superstars. But at least we get to play tomorrow, right? At least we're not sitting here bored.
You keep saying they're superstars, but it makes me, Kino, it makes me believe you didn't watch any of the pregame when I hyped all of you guys up and set you guys up. So we're
Nah,
getting
you said
that
they
they're
were
the
gonna
best team.
lose. You said the Wildcard was gonna win. Why are you sitting
I
here
said I just was
lying?
going against the
What?
desk.
Yeah.
Wait, are
hold
we
on.
serious?
Hold.
I mean, whatever. It's fine.
You know I love you.
I know Fox said that DZ was going to win too.
Yeah, facts.
I don't want to hear it.
I didn't say DZ was gonna win.
You said it the day before. I remember. I have good memory.
That you don't. That you don't.
Did I?
Excuse me?
You heard me.
Chocolate milkshake.
All right, you know what?
Chicken nuggets.
Let's call it a night. It's been a good one. Kino, congrats once again on the win for qualifying to Munich as well. Going
you.
to that LAN this year, getting some SI points. We'll see you tomorrow. Good luck for that matchup too. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Team bonding might get crazy in Munich if Fabian's always, got no pants on and stuff like that with the rest of the team.
Whoa.
You know, like if they're just all in the practice room.
Well, he has shorts on. He's not
Yeah,
it's
right.
pantless.
I'm sure the SSG guys, like they be going to the gym. I've gone with
They
them.
wear some high-waisted shorts.
I've
seen
gone
it
with
in the
them
interview
before.
every single time.
All right, let's look at
Three-hour
the
workout,
bracket.
hit the sauna.
Guys, it's okay. You can, you know, whatever fantasy you have, keep it to yourself. We're going to be looking at the bracket because this is getting a little disturbing in terms of how exactly we got here and what we still have coming up. Tomorrow, Shopify Rebellion is playing in that lower bracket against M80 for a chance to play against SSG in the grand final. They're defending title holders from stage 1.
Yeah, SSG has a lot on the line for them because they want to be able to replicate the stage 1 success that they had. And, you know, it makes them feel all that much better going into Munich. And they'll probably play Shopify Rebellion based off what Kino said, saying that they're superstars and that M80 will probably lose.
And again, just for SI points, realistically, I mean, both M80, Shopify Rebellion, if they get one step further, then they lock in at least 150 points. Same with Space Station. Or one of these teams is going to walk away with 300 SI points and be really comfortable throughout the remainder of this, and then possibly what happens in Munich.
Yeah, we're going to have to wait and see. But for today's Blacklight detail, even though Wildcard did lose their second game, the first one was absolutely incredible. So the Blacklight detail is going to be going over to Kansan.
Yeah, Kansan an amazing round here. It was a 3v1 situation that Grixer almost brought back. I mean, these two shots that he hits to bring it back, it was insane, but really smart heads-up play from Kansan here. He knows he's in a tucked position. The peeker's advantage, whether he peeks first, he's going to be seen first. So just perfectly placing the two Pokeballs, but the two impacts just to be able to, you know, catch Grixer. And so that was really, really well played because he knew if he swung first, he was most likely going to die.
Yeah, let's have a look at tomorrow's schedule as well in terms of the games. We'll be starting a little later. I know that these last couple of days we started at 2 p.m. 9. We're going to be starting at 6 p.m. That is 18:00 for the Europeans. And the second game will probably be 9 p.m., maybe a little bit early, depends.
I hate military time.
Who's TBD?
To be determined.
Oh. I'm kidding. It's so
wow.
that we can explain it.
That's why I dropped out of high school.
M80 playing against
All
Shopify
right.
Rebellion, and
Wait.
then one of those teams will face off against SSG in the finals.
We gotta close out the show though because APL is going live and they're telling us to hurry up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for today. We're gonna be back again tomorrow at 6 p.m. with our lower final into the grand final. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy the APL. Bye.